Speculation. Essay.
And
Whataboutism.
these were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little
Drama.
Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction.
Toxic fandom.
Thus, the
Allegation.
Pals were born using their ultra superpowers.
Okay, so get this. Paige, Trisha Paytas, and the artist formerly known as mysterioustea got into some juicy drama. I don't care. I have absolutely no horse in this race. I have no side to pick. I just find the reaction in the community surrounding all of this drama to be worth discussing, analyzing, and the reason is because there's so many implicit arguments, misunderstandings, and the absolute sheer pressure of picking a side is laughable at best. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I want to get into that. I'm not going to give a complete overview of the drama itself. I will instead link videos below that you can check out. They are all completely biased, so make with that what you'd like. Anyway, I'm going to discuss the narrative surrounding that and to see how this interplays, particularly as somebody who does not care about any one of these individuals. And I do have to say as well that I think every single side here has some valid points and some valid arguments, and I do think all of them as well have equally invalid points and arguments that they do raise, and I will be discussing all of that. So get in, bitches, let's see who got cancelled today. So before I get going with this video, I just want to make it abundantly clear that I do not support any version of harassment sent to any person mentioned in this video. So if you partake in harassment, then you are literally part of the problem and can't relate. For the structure of this video, I'm going to look at the three sides to this drama, the entry points in which they relate to each other. So I'm going to look at Mysterio's side, then I'm going to look at Paige, and then we'll delve into Trisha, as there have been new developments in their side. I am not going to give a full out overview of all the drama. You can definitely check out the videos below, but I want you to keep in mind that multiple things can be true at the same time. Again, I did not pick a side here because I do not stand any of these individuals, and it's very important to recognize that somebody that you like can be wrong about things, and somebody that you do not like can be right about things as well. So to give credit where credit is due is important to me, because what I care about above all is the truth. And that can come from somebody that I like or dislike. It really doesn't matter. So if you are of the perspective that you hate, let's say, Trisha, so much so that you are willing to abandon all reason, willing to abandon all sense of evidence and truth, then you have the definition of a bias, and nobody, including yourself, should take your opinion seriously at all. And you know what? That's okay. There are certain things in which we cannot help. If something bad happens to your dog or your child or your mother, then of course you're gonna be really hateful and spiteful towards the person who caused that. But then that also means that you probably won't be the person reporting on the story to a global audience, right? Right? So we acknowledge our limitations. There are definitely certain things that I will never ever report on because my bias is just too strong to give an accurate version. I've accepted that. I'm just a human being like the rest of us. So let's get into it. The start of all this drama came from a creator known as Mysterious, who made 3 parts to expose Trisha Paytas. These videos have since been removed, copyright stricken, or deleted. It should just be known for anybody who's not clear on it yet. Mysterious has deactivated on Twitter and privated everything on youtube.com, and so they have basically yeeted themselves off the platform. So that's a spoiler alert. But at the time of the starting of this drama, Mysterious had put out very well received and very in-depth research with receipts regarding Trisha Paytas. Now, it's very important to note that when presenting evidence, multiple people can look at exactly the same evidence and have different conclusions or speculations within the evidence. That is what we call interpretation or opinion or whatnot. So Mysterious, just like anybody else, looked at all the evidence and made speculations regarding what they mean. Now, to run with these speculations as if they are truth, which is a large part of the narrative surrounding this, which the conclusions that the audience drew because of the speculation is problematic because the speculation in itself was not substantiated in a smoking gun sense of the term, right? It's not a guarantee that Trisha lied about certain things. There were patterns were shown.
And let's focus on this part of Trisha's life. But I feel it is really important to look at when it comes to Trisha because it makes you understand why she behaves the way she does online. Why she lies so much, why she self-sabotages every single relationship, where the abusive patterns come from, and why she's just so desperate for attention.
That is, nobody's really denying that part. If you look into the story from any side, any bias, any angle, people do recognize that at least a pattern of Trisha's inconsistencies was shown in Mysterious's videos. Now, as these videos were released, they became slightly more speculative and less based on actual facts with regards to the conclusions reached, and the reception of it turned somewhat sour. It wasn't as well received as the first video, but what these videos did highlight to us is that Trisha never redeemed themselves fully, in the sense that they never really apologized or took accountability. So that is kind of how all of this started. When it comes to speculation in research, people are allowed to agree to disagree. Nobody's argument is completely invalid, or their research is not completely invalid just because you disagree with their conclusion. This happens in all forms of research where the facts indicate something, a pattern, and then the researcher says out loud that this pattern probably means A, B, or C, or all the above, or none of the above, whatever. And a different researcher can look at the exact same data and say, well, actually, it's probably more likely C because of D, E, and F, right? Okay, so disagreeing on somebody's take does not mean you discredit the research or the validity thereof. And I think that that point is often confused in this whole narrative, separating the actual facts from the actual speculation, which again, I'm not against, but criticizing somebody's speculation does not mean that they did not bring evidence to the table. But it should be noted that not everything that Mysterious brought to the table was evidence. A large part of it was speculation, and that is okay to admit. Now, one of the main criticisms that came towards Mysterious was not necessarily the speculation part or the misrepresentation of facts or anything that was quote-unquote wrong in an objective sense of the matter, but rather the act of questioning a victim, questioning the validity of a story. Now, I think the reason why things went south for Mysterious in this regard is because of the audience that she garnered. She was discovered, found, loved, cherished, and shared by the tea community. So, you know, that's great, but then that means that you have to live in the tea community and you have to play by the rules of the tea community. You can't have it both ways. I don't think any creator is responsible for the actions of their audience or their community. But if you engage in a community, then you will be held to the standards of that community. So for the tea community, it is very much on brand to believe all victims. If you go against the narrative, you are going against the community. So if you're outside of that community and you go against that idea, you're not going to be held to that same standard as if you are in the community and you go against that idea. The same thing applies to, let's say, in the commentary community. If you present false information, if you lie on somebody, or if you create false pedophilia allegations, then you will be cancelled just as much because that is the standard held within that community. Or similarly, if you are a political channel and you advertise tax the rich and you decide to buy a mansion, you know, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, your community is one that you can opt in or opt out of. And if you decide to opt into a community, you have to play by the rules. You can't have it both ways. So I think criticizing Mysterious based on tea community standards within the community is reasonable. And if you want to argue against the tea community as a whole, that is a very different, separate argument that doesn't discredit what happens in the community. Okay, so Mysterious, in the quest for the truth, had to kind of break this rule within the tea community. Now, whether or not you believe or agree with the notion of believe all victims, that's not what I'm trying to argue here in favor or against at all. What I want to say is that there was a cultural and social agreement within everybody reporting on Trish that this is something we all accept and grow. So in other words, if you flip-flop because it's Trish, then you are a hypocrite. And here enters pettypaige. What I will start off with here, and this is very evident in the ratio, that dismissing the entirety of pettipaige's arguments simply because you are arguing that it is the main narrative to discredit Mysterious, or whether you think that this is what the popular opinion is in the tea community, it's very, very clear from the likes and dislikes on this YouTube video that this is not the popular narrative. And she has had many, many poor takes, and she's never had a ratio this dog shit before. So what I think actually happened here is not that she was echoing a popular narrative. I think what she was doing is she was holding the tea community and the viewers accountable by calling out the hypocrisy of the believing all victims narrative. What I mean by that is that since the community as a premise accepted and ran with the idea of believe all victims, they absolutely do not have a leg to stand on when a counter narrative is presented. So in other words, if you are a part of this community, she called you out. So she went against her own viewership, and that is lost because people are arguing what I can see on Twitter, that she is representing the tea community, and she's not. She's actually giving evidence against the narrative. And the reason also why it's the counter narrative is because people have completely changed their minds over Trisha very recently, probably due to the Mysterious video, so much so that they now hate Trisha, and any single counter argument that is in favor of the new established narrative that Trisha Paytas is now evil again is somehow great and good. And the fact that pettypaige is bringing a different narrative into it, I mean, she's not even arguing in favor of Trisha Paytas at this point. She is just saying that, okay, some of the things you guys are saying here is speculation, and remember, that's not what the evidence is saying. So that's her argument, and I think that has been largely missed.
Content creators can have different opinions and perspectives without it being a versus battle or some kind of beef in any capacity.
I have no idea why. I think it's very clear in the presentation of her argument, so I will have to give that to her. I do think that she knew that she was gonna get only backlash, and she still done the thing that she believes is right. So I'm giving this to her. Another thing that was important was the idea of the copyright claims. Mysterious presented the idea on Twitter that she was being silenced by Trisha Paytas due to copyright claims, and that it had been manually submitted in order to silence any form of criticism. So she got a lot of support and people instantly believed it, and pettypaige, who has dealt a lot with copyright claims in the past, has challenged this view and said that actually no, I've seen this before, this is not what you think it is, this is not Trisha going out of their way to silence you, this actually happens because she's paying this company and this company is doing it on her behalf, so you know, just counter it and dig it out. And the thing is, Paige could have done this in a much nicer way. I personally would have just gone for the DMs. You don't need to make it that public, that out loud. And I do kind of also understand why Mysterious put it out there, because as a smaller creator who's still up and coming, she doesn't know who she can trust and who not, and putting it out there publicly guarantees the most views so that people can help and correct her. But she didn't do herself a favor by instantly claiming that it was Trisha trying to silence her. If she had gone a more subtle route saying, I don't know what this is or how it looks, but can somebody help me? Then I think she would have gotten more help. Granted, she did get help from Ethan Klein, but we know why. I don't think it's from the goodness of his heart. I think he... yeah, let's just say on the list of people who do not like Trisha Paytas right now, you'd find a little H3 logo right up there. However, this began the drama and the shitstorm that is the tea versus commentary with regards to the Trisha Paytas question of it all. So people were either picking pettipaige's side because they are against Mysterious, or they were picking Mysterious's side because they were against Trisha Paytas. And this to me means that we are working with 12-year-old children. There's no other conclusion that I can have. We are adults. You can look at multiple people and say, yeah, you're all kind of shitty. Or at multiple people and saying, yeah, I agree. In the video link below from pettypaige, I personally do think that she had a pretty good video. Not that I agreed with a lot of her takes on it, but the research was there. The arguments were there. The facts were presented, and I think she stuck her ground, and I think the video was pretty well done. And And the thing is, Mysterious also made a pretty good case and also presented arguments and also went above and beyond with research. So, I mean, both of them did well. And the fact that people are coming out with ridiculous takes on Twitter in order to discredit the other side shows to me that you are incapable of perceiving knowledge, new knowledge. You are incapable of growing and learning. You decided from the get-go, Trisha Paytas is either evil or good, and that is, you will do that to the bitter end. To just demonstrate, one of the main, I would say, counter arguments to Mysterious's narrative, again, just a narrative, because she never actually blatantly made the horrendous case that Trisha was definitely lying about everything. That wasn't it. She was just showing a pattern and reason to speculate and to doubt. She was substantiating that. And in that process, people, made their own conclusions and decided that, oh, this must mean that Trisha Paytas lied about absolutely everything, which, again, not what Mysterious had said. But in that process, a victim, girl that I'll only refer to as Morgan, came out and substantiated, or at least offered another voice to the story that Trisha Paytas was presenting, in the sense that they were also harassed by this teacher. And the fandom went so crazy about picking different sides and how Trisha must absolutely be lying because Mysterious said so, which again, only what they concluded, that they went on to force this girl into doxing herself just to prove that she was who she claimed she was. And then there were people who had takes as bad as to claim that this girl must have been paid by Trisha Paytas to make up the story. And oh my goodness, how ridiculous. So you're telling me that not only are you from a community that says believe all victims and that bad things happen to women over men, and people already have a tough enough time, but also when people do come forward and say that terrible things have happened to them, then they must have been paid. They just must have been paid. There's no way. People will lie about it because it suits the narrative. So if you're willing to abandon all your ideals and sense of morality for the sake of agreeing or disagreeing with somebody over the internet that you do not even know, and I bet don't even think about you at all, then you are truly not standing for anything. And this would be the definition of terminally online, or that WebMD trauma the kids are talking about these days. There's just no center or gray area in this discussion. You can see Petty retweeted some seriously bad takes in order to discredit Mysterious as a creator and their videos as a whole. And I think that almost completely invalidates her entire argument. So if you're gonna try and argue that you are a centrist in this matter, that you only look at facts, but then you completely try to discredit absolutely everything, or you promote arguments that say that the Mysterious's take on Trisha is incorrect because they have a different take on totally irrelevant creators like Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson, then I believe that you are like the definition of biased. You are completely invalid for that reason, and you absolutely cannot separate your emotions from the situation at hand enough to give a valid critique or opinion of any kind. Overall, after all this drama happened, Mysterious was, and I quote, bullied over the internet for liking Shane Dawson. People went very, very, very far into the archives to find any kind of receipt to discredit her character. Again, you could be the most vile, sick, horrible human on this planet and still be able to do research and present facts. Yes, your credibility is questioned, but facts should remain facts. Evidence should be removed from our own perception of whether or not we like a person. And when you bring up these kinds of receipts, they just go to show that literally no amount of evidence or proof is going to change your mind, and it's not worth convincing you of anything. I have had takes that I do not share out loud because I know that they are biased, and for that reason, I know that even if my take is correct, it doesn't matter. I'm just mentally not able to give the take in an unbiased, facts-only kind of manner. So, just to reiterate the main point, I believe that Betty did hold Mysterious to the standard within the community that has been established, and she went further by holding the community to the standard that the community has created. and for that reason she's commendable. But then she kind of backtracked on that idea in Twitterland, and I think that invalidates everything again, which is a common criticism against the tea community. But you know, here's to hoping. I initially, okay, I'll admit this, my initial take when I saw and heard that Mysterious got bullied off the internet, I really did think it was pretty weak, because you can't really get bullied off the internet. You choose to leave the internet. It's not something where somebody holds a gun to your head or physically harms you in any sense. You literally can log off and go outside and pretend the internet doesn't exist. You know, so I saw that as weak. But then somebody made a pretty decent comment. I'm not going to put them on blast here, so you know, you can whatever. Somebody made a pretty good point where they said that they had a channel and they got a lot of heat and they just took it on, they accepted it, whatever, until somebody brought up their children. And within 10 minutes, they yeeted their entire channel, never to return again. And you know what? I actually thought that is the one exception that I didn't even think about and that I will give to Mysterious. If anybody at all ever even slightly hinted at her family and the surrounding people, that explains absolutely everything, and you are not weak. In fact, you are brave, because you know that you will look like you have something to hide when getting off the internet. You guilt-ridden. It's a very creepshow art kind of stunt to pull. But to do that for the sake of your family and your children, if they were threatened at all or brought into question at all, that's very respectable. So I completely did a 180 on that take, and I'll admit my initial impression was wrong, and I respect that. And also I will go as far as to say that, you know, for pettypaige, I'll give the same courtesy. I mean, this is her livelihood, and she did something knowing she was gonna get a ton of backlash, and she has children as well, and this is her source of income. So can we just, if you hate everybody in the story, can we just applaud mothers doing motherly things in motherly fashions? I mean, that's just always commendable, right? Cheers to that. And this brings me to the Trisha Paytas of it all. You know, what an icon. And by that I don't mean I have any appreciation or admiration for this person at all. I just mean, like, look how long this video has been, and I haven't even gotten around to their part in it. This is how good they are at deflection. Literally, like, creating a whole drama sphere around you so that people avoid talking about you specifically and talking about whether or not other people reporting on you are credible or not, and bullying them off the internet and digging into their past and just being all around terrible people, completely showing their asses on the internet. And absolutely the only person who has blatantly, directly, literally shown their ass is nowhere to be seen or heard. Right, so eventually, after all this, Trisha Paytas came out, and hey, so I heard there's this like copyright little problem. Oops, my bad. I'm gonna contact the company, and don't worry, I'll get it all removed. Mind you, at this point, Mysterious is already off the internet. People are still trying to ratio Mysterious at this point. I mean, if you're trying to ratio somebody and they're not even online, then you are literally dogpiling. That's the actual definition. You are trying to slander somebody who's like internet dead. Like, they can't even defend themselves. What are you doing? Who are you trying to convince? Anyway, that aside, Trisha came out with a banger and said, yeah, not my chair, not my problem. You all can fight amongst yourselves. I'm just going to try and save what little reputation I have left, and I am just gonna, you know, take away the copyright strike. But what I will say on the Trisha of it all is that they are the logical consequence in life of what happens when you lie, so much so that people do not believe a single thing that you're saying. By that I mean that they have lied about mental health, gender identity, like tragic.
The closest thing that I have self-diagnosed myself, I guess, is multiple personality disorder. I chose that. I chose to be gay, and then, you know, it didn't really work out for me with her, and I chose to be straight again.
Tragic. So eventually, the boy that cried wolf is what happens here. Trisha lied about so many things in so many various ways that nobody ever knows whether it's a troll or real, or whether or not we should believe. And you know what? Eventually, actions like that have consequences. And this is the most prominent case of an actual consequence that they've ever faced. The fact that people do not believe there is a story is the result of lying about so many things for so long. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, pity Trisha. They made their bed, now you gotta sleep in it. It is what it is. You've spent all your cloud capital, and Them lying and trolling is literally what they are known for. And you know what? Who else? Who are you gonna blame? Who are you gonna blame? Essentially, they've spent all their cloud capital and have no more good faith and trust left in the public opinion. And this idea of their redemption arc, I saw a bunch of videos now coming out about how the redemption arc was short-lived. People, where, when, what redemption? For a redemption arc, you need a redemption. You need to actually have changed and then at least try to prove it. There's been none of that. The only proof of anything that I saw in Frenemies was that Trisha deserves a audience because they are funny and entertaining and engaging and people love watching them. That's what I saw. That doesn't make you a redeemable person. That makes you a palatable, enjoyable person, entertaining person, which yes, they just are naturally good at that. And now we are living through the Darman phase. Oh my goodness. Can I get a hallelujah? Jesus. And now we enter the part where you can completely call me a hypocrite. You can say, oh, but yes, I am doing this video to get views. Yes, 100%. But here is my argument, other than that, as to why I think we should actively try to not care about this drama. The first thing is that like literally all of the debate that I've seen around this topic is everybody picking a side based on who they hate the most. So everybody who's anti-Trisha is on Mysterious's side. Everybody who's anti-T is on Mysterious's side. Everybody who is anti-Mysterious and anti-Shane is on pettypaige's side. Everybody who's in favor of Trisha is on Petty's side. You not want a fan base based off of mutual hatred. That's short-lived, and that means fundamentally that there is no redemption arc available for anybody. And again, this is not that serious. This is literally YouTube drama. Like, you shouldn't lose sleep over the idea of disliking somebody to this extent. It's tragic, and I'm sorry. The second reason, that none of us actually know what actually happened. And that's kind of the story with any SA situation. Unless there is actual evidence coming out, none of us actually know what happens. And to be this upset and to engage to this extent, as if we have any knowledge of what had actually happened, is not only disingenuous, but unethical. And I think for that reason, just let's all just, go have a tea, calm down, just take a seat and wait for the evidence to arrive. I mean, if there is evidence, if there's no evidence, then we tend to give the benefit of the doubt and we support where we can. But going on the offense, going and attacking people based off of absolutely zero proof is embarrassing, and it just couldn't be me. And the thing is also, the third point of why you shouldn't care is, that you cannot ratio somebody who's literally not on the internet anymore, right? Like, what are you even doing? Why are people trying to call out Mysterious? What do you want her to do? Do you want her to yeet off of the internet because she already did that? She's not here anymore. She's not reading what you're saying. Who else is doing that? It's literally the definition of dogpiling, and I'm embarrassed for you. The fourth reason is that a lot of people have a lot of strong arguments as to why the other person is wrong based off of circumstantial other evidence. For example, saying that Mysterious's video is wrong because she spoke in favor of Shane and Jeffrey way back when. You should be able then to explain to me what the hell her opinion on Shane and Jeffrey has to do with the Trisha situation. Absolutely nothing, which says to me that you do not in any way, shape, or form care about any of the arguments or facts, which is the actual definition of being biased. Now, the most important reason why I think we should not care about any of this drama is because there are actual victims actually being hurt. Let's just talk again about the reason why Mysterious most probably left the internet is for their family. Petty Paige also has a family, and Trisha is accusing somebody who is no longer on this planet, and they have a family who's being harassed. And then a girl who had to dox herself and her family in order to prove that Trisha was in her class. So there's a bunch of people around this drama who's actually getting harassed and attacked and could be threatened. And the only reason that they are getting this amount of heat is because this drama has blown up. And people talking about this are both the fuel and the fire. People who have internet beef and just need to get out a little bit more. And then the final reason why I think that we should not care about this drama is because getting mad on the internet is such a 2016 aesthetic, and I just cannot relate.
This is a post-production thought here, just some quick newest and latest news. So it seems like Mysterious did unprivate only the Trisha videos on their YouTube account, so you can definitely go check them out. And also They seem to have a backup account on Twitter, but they're not posting or following. They're still a ghost, but you can now reach out to them. I also found it particularly hilarious that somebody made a petition that they want to bring Mysterious back. I mean, like what? Seriously, they were not banned. Mysterious was not banned off the internet. What is the petition supposed to do? Convince them that they really actually want to be online while they are offline? Lol.
I've been a Thot, and these are my opinions. Peace.